Hello! Welcome back to Even More News, the first, the only news podcast. My name is Katy Stoll.
Thank you, Katy Stoll, for the truth and your honesty, and your vibes are so high. Hello, I'm Cody Johnston. I'm also here doing this thing, and I'm so sorry, Jonathan, for kind of stepping on the thing that you always say.
Well, we're not there yet.
Cody's also here.
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
Before we introduce Jonathan, boy, we've got a standout guest today. I'm so excited. We have, this person doesn't even need introduction. Actor, voice actor. You're going to know her from things like Werewolves Within, Marvel Rising, This Is Us, and I don't know, an unthinkable amount of AT&T commercials, plus her new podcast, Your Mom is a Podcast, my old friend, Milana Vayntrub.
Hello. Genuinely
Hi.
old friend. It's not like, hey, welcome to the stage, my good friend. It's like, no, we've genuinely known each other for over a decade.
More than that.
Yeah, that's
Gotta
what I
be.
said.
2
Over.
decades?
Yeah.
Over a decade, yeah. I know. I was like, yeah, no, genuinely old, as in, we're getting up there, actually.
Proud of it. Proud of
I
it.
am
Nobody
proud of
thought
it,
we'd
too.
Everyone thought we'd be dead by now. Look at us.
Yeah, they were placing bets. By the way, Jonathan is also here.
Hi, I am. How dare you, Cody? Whatever it is that you did.
Or are you somewhere in Japan?
It's hard to know
because
with
of
his
the thing.
screens.
Yeah,
Jonathan, how'd you get those screens?
It's a little portable studio.
I carved them myself. I didn't know. Was I being influenced by some other culture? Who knows?
Well, they look great. You did a great job carving those.
Thanks.
As always, we have so much to get through today, and most important is the holidays. So, starting off strong, Friday, February 7th is Working Naked Day. Is this true?
I mean, all the days technically are true.
This is clickbaity. This day is about extolling the virtues of working from home, but is based on a book about working naked or called Working Naked. Okay. Working from home is great. We have an episode all about it coming out next week.
We do have a work from home episode coming out next week. This seems to be basically a day that was founded by somebody along with a brand called Working Naked that was also founded. So it's a fake holiday to promote a brand.
Well, so is Valentine's Day.
Right?
I mean, honestly, kind of so is Christmas. They've all been co-opted by companies, by brands that are trying to do something.
Absolutely.
So work from home and celebrate it. And you know what? Actually, take the day off and just be naked at home because this is your religion now.
Yeah, I
You
agree with
can.
Milana completely.
Don't even work.
I know that's a sensational title, but honestly, why not? It's your home.
Maybe it should be work like WERK, like
Work
work
it.
naked
Mhm.
All right, that's it. Everyone take off their clothes.
and dance.
Different
Get out
show
there.
now.
Well, don't actually get out there. Stay home. But
If we had HR, I would contact them right now.
it's fair.
No, well, you're speaking
No,
to
we
her.
don't. So
What's your complaint, Jonathan? I'll see what we can do about it. Take off your clothes, though. And then Saturday, February 8th, is Laugh and Get Rich Day.
That was discovered on a pillow at Marshall's.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Live,
Home
laugh,
goods.
love, and get rich day.
Airbnbs, very only laugh and get rich day.
Okay, so this is about being rich with health. Okay. So they're saying
Rich in
laughter
spirit.
equals
Mm-hmm.
health, and that's what makes you rich. I have a cold right now, and this makes sense because there hasn't been much laughing lately with all the news. And that's why I'm sick. I blame the news on why I have a head cold.
This isn't like a Maha holiday, is it? It's like a
What's Maha?
Maha is Make America Healthy Again.
Oh,
It's
of
the
course
RFK
it is.
Jr.
Word-
side
yeah.
of things.
Yeah, I actually saw a little kid wearing a Make America Healthy Again shirt before I understood that it was connected to RFK. And I was like, oh, I love that spin.
Before you knew
Taking
that,
it back, yeah.
that
It
your
was
kids
gotta
cannot
be-
go to school with that kid, you
yes,
know?
and
You
also,
have-
thank you for identifying yourself so that we
Yeah.
can all keep distance.
You absolutely have to be so diligent these days about what slogan you're supporting or liking. It's wild. I've developed enough self-defensives now where I'm like, that sounds good. But first I'm going to need to Google before I crush a like or a retweet or whatever.
See if they're promoting methylene blue.
Methylene blue, is that like a Breaking Bad thing? No, it's not.
No,
I
it's
know.
like something RFK's putting in his drink when he flies, and it's questionable. His use is questionable.
It's not.
We don't need to talk
look
about
at him.
Methylene Blue.
Why are we taking health advice?
It is so beyond baffling.
Because he hates the elites. The Kennedy hates the elites.
The Kennedy is one of us.
He's one of
I
us,
see.
exactly. He's just like us.
I also bury bears in the Central Park.
We all love rotting meat and being around rotting meat all the time.
I can't tell
With
you
our
how
hawk.
many times I've strapped a dead whale carcass to my bus and let the juices drip through the open window.
You try to talk about it all the time, and we're like, Katy,
people.
stop talking about it. Stop telling us this story.
How else are you going to make your whale jerky?
Exactly. Milana gets it. That's why you're a great guest. Milana,
Yes.
we have so much to talk about, but one of the things I really want to talk to you about is the situation you've been dealing with lately in terms of the AI video. Videos. I mean, I'm just going to let you set this up. Tell us what's been going on.
Oh, you know what? And I'd hardly call it something I've been dealing with because it's a thing that everyone is dealing with. I know people. Okay, I'll start off with my thing and then I'll kind of branch out. But what happened to me and has been happening for a while is there's a lot of fake Milana Vayntrub accounts, and they'll spell my name wrong just a little bit in an unnoticeable way, and they'll use my same thumbnail and they'll comment on my Instagram or TikTok posts. I think it's happening more on TikTok than on Instagram, but I don't know. And they'll comment something like, "Oh, thanks for commenting. Be sure to message me." And then they'll get into conversations with people and then ultimately find a way to scam them to, "Oh, my sister is so sick, so if you could just send me some Apple gift cards," like whatever they're trying. I don't know what the dialogue is because I obviously have never talked to any of these people, even though I would love to. And, but there's so many of them. And really, the thing that bothers me is that people are getting scammed.
Yeah.
I've been reached out to by private investigators saying, "My client thinks he's talking to you. Is he?" And then I can just reply with 2 words, "He's not." Like,
Yeah.
absolutely he's not. And the thing that I'm just trying to put out there is like, you are not talking to me. I am not talking to you. If you think you are talking to me, you are not. So that was kind of like the beginning of these like fake accounts, trying to get people to talk to them on some other platform. Usually they move the conversation to like WhatsApp or something else that I haven't heard of.
Sure.
And then they recently have started making fake videos of me, one of which where they impersonate my voice quite successfully.
Hey everyone, there are many fake accounts using my identity, posting my pictures and comments on different profiles and pages. I have no connection with them, and I believe they're trying to scam you.
And another that was actually just like a sloppy job, but they used a video of mine that was real and then changed the mouth, gave me a British accent for some reason. But
That's wild.
But what both of these videos are trying to do is tell people that the account that's posting that video is the only real account.
My team and I are working hard to address this, and we've secured a signal to confirm my real identity. Please trust only this page, as it's only one managed by me and my company. Follow this new official page for updates and stay informed. Your safety is our priority.
And it's just another way to get people's money. I'm imagining. I don't know what else they could want. I mean, maybe you guys have more experience than I do. But just to say that this isn't just happening to people that have an internet presence. This is happening to anybody. I have a friend who is barely online, who's in his 50s, whose parents received a call from him in his voice saying, "I've been in a car accident. I need you to send money."
That's
I heard
horrifying.
this exact same story from somebody. They got a fake call from somebody who sounded exactly like their son saying the exact same thing.
And so people show up. And actually, this is just, if I can turn this into my soapbox, the thing that I really want to let people know is I feel really passionately about not posting photos of your kids or videos of your kids online. I think you are taking privacy away from them that they did not consent to, and that later these photos and their voice and everything is going to exist forever. You don't know who's downloading this.
And we don't know
how
what's
it's going to be
happening in
used
the
against
future.
them. And I think in the future, what is really going to be valuable is privacy. That is like a commodity that we are not going to be able to get back. So
You
you're
are
taking
spot
it away
on.
from your kids early on without their permission.
And I understand all of this we've grown up as into adulthood with social media. Our generation here, college is when it started, and it was this fun thing, and you don't connect the dots into how it can be used and how it can affect your future. But we have perspective now. We can see the downside. We can see the terror, the horror of it.
Shall we call it a grift?
It's the grift.
The grift.
Shall we say the great grift of our generation? The thing that was promised to connect us, and yet we are somehow more divided. We are more lonely. We see our friends actually less than ever before this platform existed. It is the great grift.
Absolutely. And we see that now. But I understand that there are lots of people that don't necessarily have their work tied into it, who look at their Instagram or Facebook as a diary, as still see it in the same
album.
way.
Yeah.
But it's coming for all of us. This is dangerous for all of us. And yeah, your child hasn't, and I don't mean if you're comfortable with it, then that's,
you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. I'm not being nice. I'm warning you. You shouldn't be okay with your kids' pictures being online, and definitely shouldn't be posting things like, and this is the school they graduated from. Your information, you want to put your information out there, fine, that's one thing. But putting your kids' information out there is a totally different thing. And anyway, I've already said it.
No, I totally agree. And this wasn't something that I meant to bring up, but I am right now because the conversation's gone this way. I saw that you posted something about taking a bit of a step back from social media. Obviously, it's a part of your career, but, having misgivings about posting on a platform that's owned by these monsters, these absolute monsters without any ethics. And I do think that that's kind of the point that we're at, this inflection point. And in general, I've had some misgivings for a while, and I've taken a step back from posting. I hope it's clear what my politics are. I've taken a bit of a step back because there's also...
Well, we all know you're a little purple, but keep going.
But it's participating. They're making money off of us. It's also about how easy it is to share something that's not quite accurate, and then it snowballs. And I feel a lot of responsibility with that. And so, and I still have my addiction to it. I want to see my friends' updates. I want to see videos of a dog and a cat on a play date.
They're best friends. They became best friends. They're unlikely best friends.
I want interspecies relationships.
It's the one good thing that is
happening. That was the promise.
That was the promise. That is the glory of social media.
I want to see a mouse and a bird and a horse hang out.
Milana, I think that everything you're saying is spot on. I know you've said I'm not really dealing with this, but it is a horrifying thing to have to grapple with, that people are using your likeness in this way to scam others, especially when your entire career, even before different levels of your career, you've spent an extraordinary amount of time giving back to people and feeding into your community and protecting people. And I think it's really a huge violation that this has happened to you. And you're very strong in handling it with grace, but fuck that,
Katy
man.
Stoll. Yeah, it's I'm a little bit like trying to defend myself only because I'm like, God, everything that's like out there about me is about how sad I am. But actually, I feel very lucky in my life, and I love my friends, and I love my family, and I'm doing okay. And so that's what I'm saying is like, I'm doing okay. But yes, I did experience this thing, and it's fine. But it is going to get worse.
Violating. It's gross.
It's gross, and it's going to get worse for everybody. Kind of like you said, Katy, you're doubling down on what you said, which is like, even if this isn't your job, even if you don't have to be online, even if this is just a photo album, you are feeding the data machine that is then selling your information. They own the photos. Anyone can be downloading them. You don't know what their intentions are. And, I think another thing that we should be thinking about in terms of I'll tell you the thing I am dealing with that is actually hard for me.
Yeah.
Is the thing that you also mentioned, which is the addiction to the social media machine. And I want us to like all notice all the time that it was designed to be addictive, that they've put money behind the initiatives that are most addictive. They noticed that notifications do something to our brain, so they did that more. They noticed that this sound triggers something in us, so they did that more. It's
It's encouraging these dark patterns to keep you funneled into there. Yeah.
So it's not our fault. I'm saying that we are forced in some way to participate in something that is designed to fuck with our brains.
Yeah.
And they know it.
And they know
they're
it.
good at
and
it.
I think
That's
people
why
are
they don't
feeling it.
let their kids use it.
Yes. And the negativity bias is a really important part of it. There's a reason that we can get 50 good comments and we get one negative one and we obsess about that negative one. Just like if we were, it's a survival mechanism. It's like we need to notice the thing that is dangerous to us. But that primary factor that we have in us is being exploited on social media because they get money based on the amount of minutes we spend on looking at their fucking apps. And we look more at things that are negative. Someone can post a photo of themselves on vacation and that's lovely and we will scroll right by. But then, Trump is making, is announcing that there are only 2 genders and we are fucking paying attention to that,
Yeah.
And that only makes Zuckerberg more money. The fact that Zuckerberg had to pay Trump $25 million recently. Did you guys talk about that yet on your show?
No.
I don't think we've mentioned that.
Did we? No, we didn't.
There was a thing recently, and please fact check me, but that because they muted his accounts after January 6th, they've now apologized and reimbursed him some money.
But that's an example of all this fire hose of news that just goes over your head and you're like, wait a minute, that's important.
That's important. And that they're all in cahoots. And so in some way, us continuing to be in relation with this thing that is poisonous, addictive, and a grift is helping Trump.
Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's the same principle of, and I don't know the answer to this, but he thrives with the oxygen we give him.
Mm-hmm.
It's
all the attention. It's the attention is currency, and they've figured that out long ago. It's why Elon Musk is so powerful now too. He's so good at getting attention the same way that Trump is. And half the time they are saying or doing something that fucking sucks and is awful and is hurtful to many, many people.
Yeah.
So you have to sift through that's actually something we need to focus on. And this is just for their attention or a distraction. And it's just
it feels like
mess.
It's a lot for distraction in terms of what really needs to be focused on. I have yet really to see anything. And this isn't just a moral thing. It's not just that I disagree with them. It's that actually I think the things that they're implementing aren't making the lives of everyday people better. The thing that I keep thinking about is all of these people that are so happy that immigrants are being deported. I'm constantly how is this making your life better?
They can be performatively cruel on social media and feel good about themselves is what they get out of it.
I'm so glad they get the temporary high while ruining somebody's life.
Speaking of laughing and getting rich day, these fucking pieces of shit are doing that every day now. Do you want to talk about Doge, Jonathan?
Let's talk about Doge, Jonathan.
Tell us
sure.
what's going on with Doge.
We're all gonna make it to the moon.
To the moon.
So the last week, Elon Musk, not an elected official, has a lot of power in the Trump administration. He and a bunch of Doge workers who are largely between 19 and 24-year-old coders.
Is that for real?
Yeah, there are a bunch of young men, mostly. Wired broke this story. They have eliminated a lot of key government programs, or at least deleted their websites. I'm going to run through some of the things they've been able to do in their kind of blitz through the federal government. They've effectively shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID. Most workers around the world have been told to come home. That's going to kill people specifically. They've accessed the Treasury Department's federal payment systems. They've infiltrated the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, got access to payment and contracting systems. They installed a private email server at the Office of Personnel Management, potentially exposing...
But her emails!
But they're Gmails.
Exposing information of federal workers, and they're trying to shrink the size of the General Services Administration and terminate leases on 7,500 federal office buildings. So this is all part of Trump's and Elon's plan to shrink the federal government significantly. It doesn't appear to be trying to pinpoint the bloat and the fraud. It seems to be trying to etch-a-sketch the whole thing.
And this is
they're
illegally.
unplugging everything and then saying that, well, if it's important, we'll plug it back in. But that is not what they're going to do.
But that's not even how it works. It's more of like a bonsai tree. It's like once you cut that branch, it's not growing back the same way.
Exactly. And they know that. And that's part of the plan. They want to privatize most of this stuff or just bring it into their little circle of loyalists.
I want to say that it's not as if I don't think that there are ways that the U.S. government can become more efficient and can cut bloat or whatever. I'm not saying that in theory is a bad thing, but this is not how you do it. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't append everything and remove
messy
funding.
baby.
Yeah.
Have you met that
dirty.
baby?
But it's still a baby.
That's a
They
sticky,
care
loud
about
baby.
babies, right? They care about babies being
Only
born.
while they're in women.
Only
Sorry.
while they're in women. I have
Not the ones who are going to die of starvation and without medical attention overseas. They don't.
Or
care
here.
I recently moved the mountains and I talked to lots of people with different backgrounds.
Different backgrounds and opinions. Oh.
Different
Ew,
backgrounds.
you're so
And there
cultured.
is someone, I know, I'm so country. There is someone that I love
I
talking
said cultured,
to.
but
Culture? Like, sure, I'm country. And he is a very reasonable, more liberal, socially conservative. Oh, no,
Oh.
strike that, reverse it. Socially liberal, financially conservative.
I care about people, but I care about my money more.
Yeah. But he's a lovely human. But, some things we disagree on, stuff we agree on. But he was saying his friend, similar to him, and did end up voting for Donald Trump. And he works internationally for an aid organization. And he's lived there for 15 years. Overnight, their funding was gone.
Yeah.
All the doctors left. And this person is deeply disappointed. He hasn't gone so far as to say he's disillusioned, but he's deeply worried and deeply disappointed. And it's hard because we sat here for months and saying, this is the kind of shit that will happen. But I think a lot of people look at his first term and they think, how bad could it be? So much worse, just exponentially worse. The guardrails are off. So
Yeah,
this
they're
does
angrier too. And they had time to plan this.
I just share that to say that this has real life implications. People that voted for this man are affected by it,
Yeah, they're going to continue to be. I mean, every day there's some video of somebody talking about they're losing their food stamps or this benefit or this job. And you go back 4 weeks and they're laughing because Trump won and they're so happy. I don't think that's necessarily an opportunity to be like, ha, you got it. But it is, I'll still say it's very frustrating to see people still not connect these things and be like, oh, maybe they were right this whole time. They're already they're going after the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And that seems like the most bipartisan, nonpartisan sort of type of thing you would want to go after. It's not like, oh, the IRS is going after conservatives or whatever narrative they have. That's like really important work of just like very serious, smart people trying to learn about the weather and climate.
and
and
telling
doing
people
it.
when hurricanes are coming.
But
Yes.
they really want to control information.
Yes.
They want to be the source of these things.
And that's one thing they're doing a lot of, which is just deleting information that was already available to the public. You could go to these websites, you could look at these all this data that they had available, and they're getting rid of it. They don't want people to have it. They want people to be more ignorant about these things. Going after the NOAA was, sorry to say, a part of Project 2025. They wrote all about it. Here's a sentence from that
he
document.
distanced himself from Project 2025,
Oh, yeah.
Cody.
Oh, I should have
You're
believed him.
being histrionic.
From Project 2025, break up NOAA. Quote, together, these form a colossal operation that has become one of the main drivers of the climate change alarm industry, and as such is harmful to future U.S. prosperity. It's just all laid out, and they're doing it, and it's just so bad. They're getting rid of so many people, and they're going to privatize so much of it. But a lot of the services that they provide are used by private companies. All the information they're getting and deleting is the information that these private companies would be using anyway to make these. It's all a mess.
Are you saying that successful people use public goods and services to get where they are, which is why we should all be paying our tax share?
That's a theory.
Cody, as the co-author of Project 2025.
Oh, big reveal.
Go on.
When you say we need to get rid of these companies for the future success of our country, what do you actually think what are they picturing when they say the success of our country? What do you think that is? Like, what is the goal?
10 people are even wealthier than they currently are. And
already wealthier than, what is
already wealthier
over
than
75% of the population.
Oh yeah, there's I
combined.
forget how much the number of billionaires shot up over the past few years in a way that's like so grotesque. But yeah, it's to entrench this oligarchy that they have now, and they want to privatize all of these. Even with the USAID stuff and like the CIA, there are all these critiques you can make of these organizations, whether it is with bloat or, the USAID, sometimes they make fake social media apps to try to foment a revolution in Cuba. That happened. That's one of the things that they did. But they also do a lot of things that do help people across the globe. There are a lot of different things you can say about it. If you're going to get rid of that organization and bring it back into the CIA and privatize it and outsource it to companies like Palantir, that's going to be even more secretive. We're not going to find out about these things that they're doing. But yeah, they want to privatize it and give it to all these teal companies and their little venture capitalist buddies so that they can create efficiency by having a smaller, more ideologically aligned government and all these private companies doing all the stuff that maybe should have more transparency.
And they want most of us to be stupider and poorer and caught in the cycle of spending money that we don't have to live a lifestyle that we're told will make us happy. They want us stuck on our phones. They want us spending money. They want us to be serve in the military. They want us to do stuff without question. And
I think the military is actually a really great point. I mean, like everything you said is completely on. I agree with, but the military is really interesting, actually, and I hadn't thought about that because it feels so conniving and so true that if we are poorer and we don't have healthcare and we don't have affordable education, we don't have a way to grow, which is still always going to be the American dream and something you can fully control, then we have to join the military.
Yeah, and then military is already predatory to like lower class people in how they recruit. So
one of the other things that I want to say is that one of the fears that comes up for me is like, oh, so in a way, what they're saying to us is that only your money will protect you. If it is going to be about like the poor kids are the ones that are going to get sent off to war, then only your money will protect you. And that makes us so much, not just like obviously greedier, but will make us turn against each other faster. I have to do this. I got kids to feed. I have to do this because I got a mortgage to pay. So I'm definitely not showing up to protests. I'm definitely not skipping a day of work. I am now prioritizing my work above my friends and neighbors because I have to
100%.
protect myself. I'm in fight or flight all the time, and I'm associating my safety with the amount of money that I'm making. But the conspiracy for me then is like, why are they so adamant about turning us against each other? I know that with the trans conversation, which I'm also really passionate about because I know that it's a distraction from the other things. I'm passionate about when people are talking about like, yes, there are only two gender. I'm like, I don't want boys playing girl sports, like that kind of shit. I see the bullshit in it. And so when I see people saying like, thanks President Trump for announcing there's only two genders, I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with you?
How is that a threat to you in any capacity?
In any capacity. Well, I did get into a fight about a woman on the internet.
You might come in 8th instead of 7th in some.
Oh no, you didn't.
event.
Still didn't get a trophy.
But it's
No,
not an
not a
actual
thing.
thing. It's not a real problem.
The NCAA just banned trans athletes from, like, the NCAA is following suit, and they're not going to let trans athletes compete anymore. it's working.
And children in these states can't read or can't eat. They've literally voted to take away lunches from poor children. Like, how are you telling me that you care about girls' sports?
Yeah, they don't want people to read. They want people to see some post about like, oh, look at this thing that we're paying for that's like actually like harmful, and they're not going to read it. They're going to believe all the lies.
Just emotional.
They want you to be more emotional,
More
less
separated.
educated. Because if you are, maybe you'd sort of wise up and be like, wait, why are they lying to us so much? Why are
Right.
these people doing this? They always have a target so that you're not actually looking up. And if you have an easy target like trans people, they're very vulnerable. There aren't a lot of trans people in the world, but like it's the most important issue in the world to attack these people. Well, once they get rid of transgenderism, which they say over and over and over they want to do, which is not something you can do, actually, it's not an ideology, then, okay, well, now we have immigrants and we're going to get rid of all the immigrants. And then you do that. Okay, well, who's next? And it's all like, this is a fascist dismantling of and takeover of the government. And something about fascists, they always need a target. They always need somebody to go after, and when you get rid of some group, then you go to the next one, you go to the next one, you go to the next one. It's why there's so much infighting too, and all the backstabbing. They always need a target, and it can't be them.
You're
it's gotta
right, though,
be-
Milana, that it's all, you're right, Cody, too. But Milana, it is all a distraction. Because when I talk to people about this issue that might not agree with me, for the most part, they're like, I honestly, I think people should live their lives the way they want it. I don't know why the Democrats won't stop talking about it. And I go, we're talking about it because the other side's talking about it.
But
Because
I
the other
actually
side
think
won't put
we
it down.
shouldn't. I actually think what we should do is, and this was, I actually heard this from AOC, and I was like, this is so smart. Like everything she says, I love you, AOC, marry me. But she
President
was
Sunday,
like,
probably.
but she was like, next time they bring it up, just go, what are you doing? What
Right.
are you doing? Why are you doing that? You don't need to do this. Let's talk about the things that are actually affecting a majority of the people, and let people live their lives as they choose. It is really not that complicated.
Yeah, I think it's important to defend
Yes.
vulnerable people who are being attacked and point out that the attack is stupid. Like, why are you talking about this?
100%.
Why are you talking about this?
We're all wasting time and energy on instead of focusing on the stuff that's important. And the vast amount of stuff that actually we could have a conversation. We might have a different opinion about X, Y, or Z, but we might all agree, yeah, actually food prices are too expensive for people. Let's actually have a conversation about
it's
that.
good to pay high prices because that means you're a patriot now, actually.
Okay.
So
Wait,
we like
I-
high prices.
Was
these
that a
days.
thing they
Still-
said?
That is
Yeah.
the thing that people are saying now, yes. High prices are not important anymore.
How?
They stopped being important a few months ago, and now you're like $15 for eggs, please, because it will help
It'll help
dear leader
our
or
patriotic economy, exactly.
You know, Cody,
it's
what you
absurd.
were saying about like, you know, they'll take us out like one group at a time. It reminds me very painfully, I have to say, of that poem from the Holocaust. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because
yeah.
I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists,
Yeah,
and I did
keeps
not
going.
speak out
It
because
keeps
I was
going.
not a socialist. Like, is that what's happening now? Are
Yeah.
we? When do
We're in that-
when do we leave this country?
We're in the third stanza of that.
We're exactly. And yeah, you'll notice like, yeah, they're even like they frame like the USAID as and the CIA as like these leftist communist organizations, and it's absurd. They have their targets. They know the playbook, and they're doing it.
Yeah, that poem
with
unfortunately
children.
put a list of all the things. They're like, okay, trade unionists,
Yeah, you
great. We can go through all these
Oh,
people.
right. It's also a list of people like, oh, I was going to go after them anyway. Perfect.
I think we should move on to some other topics. I do want to bring this back to one major point we kind of breezed right through when we started this conversation, which is that Elon Musk having the keys to the kingdom and Doge, all of it is very, very illegal. Like, you don't just create a government agency. You don't just staff the head of that agency. You know, I've seen a lot of people online or comments of, well, everyone calm down. There's tons of unelected officials in the government. Not like this. This should be a job that's appointed by Congress, that there's a whole congressional hearing where we have interviews. We understand exactly what's going to happen. None of that happened.
But do any of those interviews result in anything? Like
I don't.
Oh, they're still approving most of his, like, they're
still
Democrats are still pretty on board with
bypassed it.
everybody.
But at least there's an opportunity for questions to be raised, for skeletons to come out of the closet. And you're right. It's not a good situation that we're navigating right now. He probably would get approved by his, but
he
all of this
hiled Hitler on the public stage, like
Hitler.
How many times did he do it though? Just once? Did he only do it?
No, he did it twice. Jonathan, I'm sorry, he did it twice.
He did it twice. Yeah.
He did it
Well, like,
twice.
specifically with this type of activity and organization, he can't decide these things. I mean, he can because he is, and he's going to. But like, Congress decides how we pay for stuff and what we pay for. Like, that is a big part of their job. And so, some agencies have been created by executive order. I think like the EPA by Nixon was created by an executive order, I'm pretty sure. But like this specific thing, it's not something that happens. It's one guy who happened to pay $250 million to help the other guy get elected, having control over every single aspect of the government, and specifically these payments that he is doing illegally. It's and I know it's not necessarily an effective like talking point these days. Like that's illegal, sir.
Right.
But it is illegal, sir. And I don't know.
Well, like there's because he's vibing his way through whatever government system or building he can get in. But did you see that thing where someone was talking about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or something that he wants he's shutting down?
Yeah.
And there was a image about the direct file, the ability to direct file, and he's like, that has been
deleted. Yes,
that program has been deleted. And all of the comments, even the blue checks, were like, "Why? That's a good thing.
Why?
You should be able to direct file."
The best thing.
Once, like, and it's a small thing because we haven't ever had it. It's not like he's just like, I deleted Medicare or whatever. But like, people, he might. But
that's
right,
nonpartisan.
People are like,
direct
wait,
file.
why would you do that? That's not the bloat. What's the deal here? But right, he can't just do that. And so now we're seeing like, will any of these institutions hold up? Federal judges are like, no, you can't do a birthright citizenship executive order. You can't do this deferred resignation thing. Like none of that works.
Forcing detransition for prisoners has been deemed to be
what is that?
Part of like his like all of his trans executive orders. Trans prisoners were supposed to be like detransitioned and moved to the other prison, but a judge recently blocked that because that is cruel and unusual punishment. Right. Literally, that is why.
But
well, that's
see
unconstitutional.
If the, like institutions, if that works, because right now it's Trump saying do this and a federal judge saying you can't do that. And it's like, well, who do we listen to? And eventually, the Supreme Court will be like yes or no, and then.
Are they? Do they?
Like,
but and they are reasonable. Supreme Court is reasonable and uncompromised. Is that or
somewhere between 2 and 5 of them at any given point are reasonable.
Yeah.
It's really the greatest fear is who is going to hold this guy's feet to the fire. Who is going to be our actual Department of Justice? Who is going to be maintaining justice?
And he said out loud recently. The press secretary, I think, one of these fucking people. Basically confirmed like, oh yeah, Elon will decide himself if there are conflicts of interest between him, his companies, and what he's doing in the government. He will decide.
Handle this.
He will decide the conflicts of interest.
That used to be something we cared about. What do we make Jimmy Carter do?
We don't care about anything anymore. We don't care about anything anymore.
What did we make Jimmy Carter do?
Sell his peanut farm.
Sell his peanut farm.
Then we made him build houses until he died.
And now peanut butter is like $10 a jar. Coincidence? But you gotta buy the expensive peanut butter.
And we can't find the guinea worm anywhere, and we need the guinea worm to cure, I don't know, bird flu or something.
Imagine if all we needed is some guinea worm, and then we'd be damn it.
If only.
Well, in our efforts to not just go down a rabbit hole with everything Trump says, because the guy says a bunch of stuff. He said some stuff this week, but it was big, not pleasant stuff. Essentially, he said that the 1.8 million Palestinian people who live in Gaza, or lived in Gaza until recently, should just find some other place to live, or we'll give them a beautiful place.
They can
and
come to
then-
Mar-a-Lago.
Somewhere else, exactly.
Yeah, and then
I
the
give them a
U.S.
golf cart.
a little down the road from Mar-a-Lago, but you know.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job.
Have you noticed how poor his vocabulary is? It's gotten worse. When he was talking about this, I have studied it. I've studied it for many months. It's like, oh, you studied the Middle East for many months?
For many
You
months.
were the president.
Right. It's like you were the president.
I just pulled an all-nighter about Gaza, so I'm good.
Yeah.
It's fresh in the brain. I don't want to breeze past. There's been some the press secretary, they walked this back, but he literally said resettle people permanently. And now they did walk that back a little bit, but that is what he said, and I believe that was his prepared statement, not just him speaking off the cuff. And it's deeply chilling. This is what we have said this whole time, and it's frustrating. It's so beyond frustrating, horrifying, because Biden and then Kamala really shit the bed on this, and we've hammered this home over and over, and how they've navigated this and turned people off. But all along, it was clear, yes, Netanyahu will hold off and try to give Trump the credit for bringing along peace, but the trade-off is that Trump is gonna let him do what he wants. And I guess now the U.S. will control it and rebuild it. What about the history? What about these people's lives, their own culture? This is
Trump. I just want to also I maybe want to just look at what you said, Katy. I don't know if Trump is letting Netanyahu do what he wants so much as Netanyahu is letting Trump do what he wants.
yeah.
This is now
fair.
Trump's game.
Mutual,
Right.
relationship.
No, that's a good point. And it's true, because Trump will bulldoze over anybody. But at the end of the day, this is certainly not in the best interest of Palestinians.
Yeah, and again, to Jonathan's point, he says a lot of stuff. He says a lot of stuff all the time, and it's important to sort of try to sift through the noise and the signal and find what actually he means. And he does mean this. It doesn't mean it's going to happen necessarily. But Kushner, I was it last year or 2 years ago? He's like, yeah, it's really good beachfront property.
That's what it's always been.
That's what it's always been. And so this is what they want. It might not necessarily be what happens, but it will definitely the signal amongst all of this isn't oh, the U.S. is going to control that area and we're going to build beautiful Trump towers everywhere. The signal is, yeah, we're not letting them back. It's not their land anymore. We spent a year completely devastating this area and turning it to rubble, and now it's somebody else's. That's the signal, is that they're not going to let Palestinians back there.
I think it's such a good point that you made, Milana. Yeah, this probably isn't in the best interest of Israelis either, if this is the way that
It's in
plays
nobody's
out.
best interest. Well, it's in a few
and you're
people's-
right,
it's
Cody.
5 people's best interest.
We will see what actually happens. There's a lot to be alarmed and worried about.
if this whole thing was a long con for a few real estate tycoons, that is just about the most heartbreaking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we've kind of looped around. It's history first is tragedy, then farce. We're kind of looping back around to the tragedy part.
We're still in the tragedy part.
It's not leaving tragedy. Actually,
I don't know when this could be farce. World War II could be farce for Jews only. It feels like no one else is really allowed to make the joke. Maybe Ricky Gervais can get one or two through, but it's going to take a long time for this to have any levity, if ever.
Gosh, I feel really depressed right now.
Me too. My liberal tears. My poor liberal tears.
That's what they want. That's currency for them.
I don't think Trump Hotel Gaza is going to happen anytime soon. Not that what happens there or is continuing to happen there is good. But there's a certain level of delusion, I think, or because some of this was just rambling of like, oh, we'll build them beautiful places to live.
That's how he talks. Yeah.
Yeah. But he is reading, Katie, you mentioned this, when he says the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, that is from his prepared comments. And he wanted that put in there. He's like, we should take it over.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm talking about land, if it's not part of the U.S., we're making it part of the U.S. Panama's part of the U.S. Like, this is, one of those levels of fascism that he, wasn't he floated the idea of Greenland, I think, in his first term, but now we're really seeing it ramp up. The expansionist, it's all part of the American empire.
Exactly. The colonialist imperial project that he has pretended he's not a part of to get the anti-establishment coalition to get duped by him.
Well, what I'm really curious about is how his supporters feel about all of this. And I know that part, when we talk about the entrenchment, the enmeshment of social media and Trump and just news and Trump, that there's a part of me that when Trump won, I was like, CNN is thrilled right now. What are you talking about? Nobody watched CNN for 4 years and now they're glued to it again. Great. Now our New York Times notifications matter in a new way. Thank you so much, So when I think about the enmeshment of all of that, I think about how they are receiving different information. And I'm so curious about how they're making sense of this. How are you...
So I've actually seen...
How did you vote for him and you still stand by him? That's what
There's grades of it, gradients. There are certain people that had their eyes wide open as to what this would look like. They might have a different interpretation as to whether or not this is racist or bad, but in general,
the racist is never going to change their mind. Yeah, no. That's not.
But it's, they see the government is drastically needing to be sized down and excited by this. But that, I think, is a smaller percentage. I think the vast amount of people that did, because let's remember, Donald Trump won this time with fewer votes than he lost last.
Mm-hmm.
This is more about people leaving the Democratic Party. This is more about the Democratic, in my opinion, being so disconnected. But there are people that are good people that vote. I will die on that hill. They might be confused about XYZ. They might have this reason, that. They might be disconnected from the news media. They might think that it was going to not be that bad because they look back on the first term and like, well, he wasn't able to do that much. But at least maybe he can be pressured. That's not the Donald Trump we're getting this time. And I have had conversations with people that are like this. Well, and they're not willing. It's too soon for them to say, oh, I regret my vote.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
But they're worried. There are some, and so there are some people like that. And then there are some people that this is all like, you know what? Everyone around me votes this way. I'm really checked out and I feel so powerless with the government, and fuck it, let's give Donald Trump a shot. And they're not paying attention to any of it because at the end of the day, the priority of getting to work and getting your kids fed and paying for gas is all that they have room for.
Can I say that I think there's fewer and fewer of that kind of person now.
Yeah, I do too.
Everybody has a device and everybody is addicted to it, and they are getting their news on Facebook, if not on Instagram or TikTok like I am, they and then that vehicle is feeding them and continuing to divide us. So I would say that very few people are uninformed. I think more and more people are misinformed.
Yes.
Yeah. That
or disinformed in a lot of cases.
Yes, intentionally disinformed.
I was just thinking specifically of a couple people that I know that can't stand and they stay checked out. They're a little older.
I'd like to be one of those people.
On that. I would too, but I'm not gonna be. And but I don't know. But I do think that there are some people that will be regretting it if they don't already, and they're worried.
People already are, I think, in some areas, because as we'll probably have an episode about this in maybe a week or two. It's gonna all this stuff. Maybe not every single thing that they're doing, but in some way, it's hurting you. and I don't mean you, like people watching this or listening to this, I mean every single person in the country is going to be affected negatively by this in some way. And it's just a matter of time of like when that's going to happen and when that's going to click and if it's going to click. Because there's always been this sort of cognitive dissonance with Donald Trump specifically because, and I'm sorry to all the people in your life, Katy, who you aren't included in this category, but it is a cult. And
it is.
It is really hard to leave that. And so many people, Milana, to your question about like Gaza specifically, I've seen a lot of people either say, there have been people who've said like, wait, what? We don't want Gaza. Like, we have nothing to do with this. Like that sort of like isolationist, like we don't want anything to do with anything. I've seen that, but I've also seen like, he's not really going to do it. It's 4D chess. He's saying that as a negotiation tactic for some other thing. They can't say like what the end result of the deal is. But it's always going to be that sort of trying to wiggle around like, oh, he's doing it because of this. It's not what he says. And it's not what he does. It's what I want him to do or say.
Until he does the thing. And then there will be some people that are, feel betrayed, and other people will just go along with it.
Right. That's the thing. Everyone's like, oh yeah, MAGA like has principles. No. Eventually, once he does it, you're going to say it's good, actually. You're going to come back around like,
possible.
Oh yeah, whatever it was. He was right.
Pay for those
right
expensive eggs. Yeah.
Exactly. Which we love to pay for now. But yeah, it always sort of comes around to
I'm going to pay more and just
all these explanations.
I'm going to tip those farmers now.
Bird flu.
You know what's crazy too about him is that it feels like, this isn't new that American presidents want to be bastards in the Middle East. Like, of course, that's not new. It's been cagier before. It's been like, oh, let's find those weapons of mass destruction. Let's find Osama bin Laden. Let's liberate people. Like, it's always had a guise. And now it is like, no, I just want to go there and own it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's wild. We've gone past, it's just like, I forget who the comedian was. She had this joke about, like Republicans really, they want like a con man, but Democrats want like a con artist, right? And we've sort of like left all that behind. Like, it's not even that anymore. It's just like, no, just say that you're scamming us to our faces.
Yeah. Specifically with this, the U.S. has always, supported a two-state solution here and have worked towards that. And yes, it's been a long, hard road. And
it's been bullshit.
Yeah. The fact that one person is apparently signaling that we're completely changing course on that is pretty wild. And I cannot stomach anybody telling me he had a mandate, he won, because again, he won by fewer votes than he lost last time.
He won with a plurality, not a majority.
It's just staggering. And I just can't get through this episode without saying one of the things I get so frustrated by is just the sheer hypocrisy of people that are refuse to care about Elon Musk's takeover, refuse to care about, I guess we're not isolationist. I guess we are trying to get terror. You are a fucking hypocrite. If this was reversed, you would be losing your damn mind.
That's true consistently. If Democrats raided the Capitol this time, it would be fucking hypocrisy. If Biden didn't put on the Tea Party when Trump won and shake his hand and show up at the inauguration, there would have been a full fucking uproar. Like,
but don't you know there was an insurrection? That's what like libs of TikTok called it when those senators protested outside the Treasury Department the other day. They're like, it's kind of insurrection-y, them standing outside this building.
From a stupid
Who called
loser.
it that? The libs of TikTok?
The libs of TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
you don't know. You'll hate
Marco
them.
Rubio.
I don't know.
Do
those
not
guys.
dive
Lucky
down that.
you.
I don't want
God.
you to.
You're the luckiest person on the planet.
I want to protect your sweetheart. Don't absorb any more ugliness.
But none of this, like the hypocrisy, just doesn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work. Like, Marco Rubio started his 2015, 2016 getting like completely humiliated by Donald Trump and saying multiple times like, it's getting harder every day to support this guy. Like, there's a clip of him like being asked like, are you going to support him? Getting harder every day. 2 years ago, he requested that Joe Biden fund the USAID even more than it already was, because of all the great things that he thinks it does. And now he's like, oh yes, Elon, it's the devil organization. We must get rid of it. Like, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's just raw power, and they're exercising it as quickly as possible, because either it's gonna work, or it's gonna fall apart really quickly, and they will be. We're gonna not talk about that.
Well, I have two questions. One is just about like our emotional health and our mental health during this time. And the other that I actually have a really hard time understanding, and I don't know that you guys will have the answer for me because I think we're all unfortunately in the same boat, or fortunately in the same boat, is like, how much more do the Republicans have to gain by supporting him? Like, I understand that lobbyists are in their pocket, but they already have multiple homes. Their children are already set up for life. Like, what is actually keeping these people from being such pawns in such what I actually believe that they know is an evil plan that will hurt their own constituents?
I think, I don't know. I think I've started to realize that there is no limit of what people want to accumulate. And I sometimes think about that quote on Succession. It's like in the pilot where they're talking about bottled water, and he goes like, this is the future. What, we need to, people will be killing each other for this, and we've got our own company, or whatever the quote is. Mm-hmm. There is a little bit of saying like, yeah, this ship is sinking, so let me shore up everything for myself, because we're never going to be completely wiped out, but there are going to be people that are well suited to survive whatever's happening more than others. And then I think there is also just a craven amount of reading the tea leaves of protecting their future careers post-Trump. So it's like it's riding a wave. It's trying to find the balance, walking a line of, yes, let me make them all like me right now, and when the timing is right, I am going to do a well-placed, how dare you, sir, you've done a step too far. And people will have so much that they're grappling with that enough people will accept it.
Oh, they'll be grateful for it. They'll be,
and then other
yes, finally,
presidents
thank
will
you so
be
much.
like, this person's really good at bootlicking. Keep him in my corner. I think it's really self-serving.
When it's all over, Rubio, Vance, they're all going to pretend they weren't part of this. Not saying we should give them something they can't take off, but like, this is like, they're in it now. And right, I think Rubio thinks like, just go with what he wants and this will all be over, and then maybe I'll be president and I'll be able to fix things and uphold the institutions and blah, blah, blah. But right, they feel powerless. They're terrified of his fans coming after them if they say anything out of turn.
Right.
That's
now,
the main
especially
thing. Like, it is like obviously like money and power and all that. And part of it, I think, is also like resentment of like the left and just sort of this like revenge sort of element. Like, so much of like fascism is just like, oh yeah, we want to by any means necessary take control and punish the people we hate, which is the left. But so much of it is survival, and that sort of like terrified survival instinct of like, well, if I speak out or vote against him, then I'm out of a job. I'm out of the public sphere. Everyone will attack me, and I can't participate in this anymore. And I want to be on the lifeboats. But if I speak up now, then I don't get a spot there.
maybe it'll happen sooner, but I think you'll start seeing more people breaking away from him after we make some headway in midterms. I don't know. Maybe.
Are those still happening?
If they happen. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, and then my last question is like, what are we doing to protect our mental health? Because continuing to be up on it is draining our relationships. It's filling us with guilt and anger and shame. It's dividing us from people. It's making us judge our neighbors and for being informed, for not. We're all virtue signaling. I mean, the difference between like the first administration and the second administration for me is that I am kind of realizing that posting about this actually changes very little. Unfortunately, all it does is give Zuckerberg more.
Oh yeah,
and
exactly.
it makes our heart
time
rate
currency.
spike. and it makes our heart rate spike, and then someone argues with you and you get angry, and it takes away our time, which is
and
our most precious
energy,
resource.
like the actual strength that we need to fight the real fight, which is not online.
I
Yeah,
love
exact-
this because it
getting
brings us
offline is
back
so
around
much
to where
of
we
it, yeah.
started. Yeah, I agree. I moved to the mountains.
But like, I mean, like literally like talking to your neighbors
was-
and creating those networks, you know, like even, you know, there are going to be so many more events in the world that have nothing to do with, I mean, tangentially, I guess, but have nothing to do with this administration or Donald Trump or Elon Musk in like the fires recently. Well, stuff like that's going to keep happening, and we're going to need to rely on each other and rely on your neighbors, and you need to foster those relationships away from all this other stuff, and create these networks of community support that will also make you feel better. If you're online, you see something that makes you fucking furious. Well, I'll go talk to my real life neighbor in the real world and feel better about that.
That's
because
correct.
there are real people in the world who do care about others.
Absolutely.
And creating those
It's
connections is really
affirming.
important.
I
And a bunch of other stuff.
Said
We'll,
that
you know,
I
have an
said the
episode about
mountain
that
thing
too.
specifically to underscore. I think a key part of this in general is moving yourself away from online and into reality, into grounding practices. I appreciate very much that I can go out and just be in nature very easily. Like it's raining, but I'm gonna go out somewhere, you know, and like breathe in the forest smells. And that alone is very grounding for me. But it is removing yourself from online. It's knowing when you need to post, when you don't. And it's making your real life connections more important than your internet ones. It means literally going over, even if you feel, I understand being like, I made a plan and oh gosh, I'm tired and it's been a bad
don't make
day
plans.
and all
Don't
that.
make plans.
No, don't
That's
listen to
not
Cody.
gonna save you.
Like, go
Don't.
see your friend for an hour.
Make plans and go see them. I know.
And
But yes, I agree. You want to
hobbies,
make your
I don't
real
know.
life bigger than your internet life. That
Mhm.
helps.
Because it puts things in perspective too. And, you know, getting involved at a local level with your community. I went to a city council this week because there was an attack on an LGBTQ plus member of our community here. And I went to city council meeting to express my outrage. And guess what? I didn't have to actually speak because that place was overflowing with people down the hallway, down the stairs in support of this young man, of this very brave young man. And it wasn't just, you know, liberals in there. I'll tell you what that did for me. It inspired me. It made me feel not alone. It made me have so much respect for the people that might not, you know, agree with a lot of my politics, but they know what's right and they know what's wrong, and they're not
Yeah.
going to stand for it.
And they've
that
seen
is a
that
good
Holocaust
reminder.
poem. And
they've
have
seen it.
fucking
Yeah.
know that once they start coming for them, they are just 1 or 2 steps behind them.
Absolutely.
Who's
So,
next? That's the name of this
If you
episode.
who's next? But if you guys want to go, it's pretty easy. I mean, you have to look up where it is, and it can be hard to navigate traffic. But if you're really feeling desperate, I would recommend just showing up and talking to people at a local community level.
You know what, guys? Serenity prayer. It's like, grant me the serenity to accept the
Yes.
things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When we see him talking about, you know, owning Gaza, we cannot control that. But the things that we can control are at a local level. They are about the midterms. That is a thing that we do have a say in, that we should be working towards. They are about protecting our neighbors. They are about reinforcing our relationships. Those are the things that we do have control over. And honestly, making sure that we are good and healthy and strong so that we can fight the good fight. And then the wisdom to know the difference is a really important one, because sometimes it feels like doing the bartering online is doing a difference, and it's not.
It's not.
One
it
more
might
reply.
Feel like
Just
it.
one more reply. I can
Nah.
change their mind. I can
One
do
more
it.
fight
One more.
with a girl I went to high school with.
I think this is the time. This is the one. This is the one that's going to
Milana,
change your mind.
We appreciate you so much for taking the time to chat with us. This was a great conversation, I think.
I think so too.
Well, do you have anything to promote to encourage people to check out? You don't have to, but
I'm gonna be in the last episode of Going Dutch on Fox. It's coming out soon. And then I have this podcast called Your Mom is a Podcast. It's a comedy parenting podcast.
It's a great
but we're
title.
taking a little break because one of our team members experienced the Altadena fires. And so go on and catch up on those old episodes. And by the time you're caught up, we will have some new ones out for you.
Thank you, Milana.
Thank
I
you,
love
guys.
you.
Love you.
So glad to see you even through this screen. And you know what? Everyone at home, just in case you didn't know,
Do they?
just in case you forgot,
Whoa,
you
what
need
are
to
gonna
know.
say? What do you say? Wait, whoa.
We love you very much.
Much.
Oh, that's
It's
what I was going to
true.
say. I forgot. I did forget
Milana,
it.
Milana loves you very much too.
Same
End of show.
Much too.